Morning folks, Cam Griffin here from Vinui Family Grazing. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we're kind of just talk all things regenerative grazing. So this morning it is the 22nd of October and we're still getting this pretty consistent drizzly old rain like we've had for probably the last 6 or 7 days, and we're forecast to get for the next week or so. That La Nina weather pattern is, letting us know its intentions are pretty clear, and it's here to stay, and we're off to a pretty good start to the wet season, which doesn't really feel any different because the whole year has been pretty wet. I thought just this morning I'd do a bit of a walkthrough of where we are in our grazing rotation, kind of the state of our pastures, have a look at that block that I fecal seeded with vetch, clover and medic, see how it's coming along, and just give you a bit of an update. You can see some of the germination and some of the growth and the stages of maturity that it's at, and then just a bit of a walkthrough of the mob. We got a few new steers about 2 weeks ago, and then we've got a new little calf that one of our cattle owners' cows that we custom graze has had. So yeah, we'll head over and we'll have a look. You can see it bouncing around just now. It's a cute little thing. I don't even want to start talking because I don't want to interrupt the beautiful sound of the ripping and the tearing of the grasses and the broadleafs. It's like a symphony, and I'm sure you guys enjoy it as much as I do. So as I said, it is the 22nd of October, so we're just over halfway through spring, and we have been experiencing some pretty weird weather for the last 3 to 4 weeks, which I'd say is mainly associated with the variation in temperature that we've had. So coming towards the end of September, it felt like, we're on track. The average daily temperature was going to keep rising over about 19 to 20 degrees. However, in the last 3 weeks, it felt like that all kind of went backwards, and temperatures in the morning and at night remained quite cold, and that subsequently kept the average of our soil temperatures down. And when the soil temperatures are down, and that's kind of what matters most in terms of triggering plants to grow or slow down, is that's really affected the growth rate of most of our warm season grasses, which are dictated by the soil temperature and the moisture. So the growth rate is a function of temperature and moisture. Once you have the nutrients and you have the right environment to grow in, and you've got sunlight. And I know that seems pretty hard to believe looking at kind of the pasture that we're in at the moment, some of the height of these warm season grasses, but it's important to realize that this paddock hasn't been grazed for about 4 months, about 119 days I think it is at the moment, so coming up on exactly 4 months. That's a long time for a plant to recover. Obviously that was over winter, towards the end of winter, that this was growing, and it's more affecting the paddocks that we grazed and clipped about a month ago, which haven't bounced back as fast as I thought they would have, which is why it's so important to be observant and adaptive to the seasonal conditions rather than a set grazing program. So when things are taking a long time to grow back in the that non-growing period, obviously we slow down our rotations, and then when plants start rapidly growing again, like we thought they would have by this time, then we speed up our rotations. So that being said, at the moment we're still working on about an 80-day rest period, and that's mainly just to buy us some time on that other lease block that we grazed and clipped, to allow those immature warm season grass plants to build up in fibre a bit. Because when you're just coming out of winter and you get that green flush and that pick starts to come back, and then you turn cattle out onto it, you've probably seen before, but a lot of the time you'll just notice it goes straight through the animal, and they'll scour and they'll get diarrhea because there just isn't any fibre in the plant yet for the rumen to hold on to and actually digest. So pretty quickly they can become dehydrated and go backwards in terms of weight gain and performance. And hey Mole, that's, you know, that's not what we want in a custom grazing situation where we have cattle owners that are depending on us to, you know, put some grease on their cattle, put some weight on their cattle, and that's what we said we'd do, and that's what we'll try our best to do. And so we did get another 16 steers dropped off about 2 weeks ago from the cattle owners that own the majority of the cattle that we custom graze. And yeah, the idea with them as well is to background them, and basically all that kind of means is we want to put some economical weight gain on them. So there's one here. They're all kind of Brahman infused steers. Put some economical weight gain on them between being, say, a weaner yearling and when they're finished, whether that's on grain or wherever they decide to send them. We want to put, you know, some bulk economical weight gain out on pasture, and they've got plenty of frame. They're nice slick hided animals. There's two there, which I think is going to benefit coming into summer and our subtropical summers. And you know, we're predicted obviously to get a lot of rain this year, so I think they'll adapt well and in our environment. And so I had them in the yards for about 3 days, just with a bale of hay, and obviously did the same process. Had a bit of polybraid on the inside of the panels, and we broke them in, and by the time we let them out to join, you know, our existing mob, they were perfect. They were docile, they were broken. I didn't think that they were, you know, necessarily flighty to start with. I just think they're extra cautious of it now, and they've joined the mob, and they've been a great addition. You know, they move well, haven't had any issues moving them. No one's kind of balked at going through the fence. There's really only one animal that does that in the mob at the moment, and that's that grey Brahman steer up the back there. But you know, you just got to work with him. So that's that little speckled heifer calf, and she's a gorgeous little thing. She's out of a Brangus cow. Sooty, one of Clint's cows there, and she's by, I'm not sure if I've had him in any of the videos, but she's by a miniature Galloway cross speckled bull. So he was in the mob, yeah, obviously 9 months ago, and I think Clint and I didn't think he was going to get the job done, and you know, obviously he has. He's got up there and he's made his mark. But it'll be really interesting to see how she grows out. You know, what size frame she'll have, and if she does, you know, end up having quite a nice frame size. She's got a beautiful coat. Then it would have been pretty cool if she was a bull calf, and Clint could have used her, and we could have used her over a few of our smaller frame animals, you know, those Dexters and those Ausline cattle. And so I'll come through now and I'll wind up this back fence. And I did make the mistake the other day. It was my fault. Cattle got out. I'm pretty certain that it was a result of, you know, me having Sooty, this cow. I knew she was going to calve, but I still wanted cattle boxed up and to get a really good utilization and graze on the paddock that we're in. And so I kept the back fence in. I'd say there would have been tension between her and the horses and the other cattle. You know, she probably wanted a nice quiet spot to go down and calve down by herself. And so I think they would have chased each other around. The horses probably pushed someone through, and you know, that's probably what caused it. So I'll give them a bit more room. I'll take down the back fence and basically just strip graze cattle up the rest of this block. We only got about 2 days left, and so this is what the paddock looks like where they were grazing yesterday, and it's taken down a little bit further than probably what I would have liked and what I think's ideal. But as I said, I'm trying to buy a bit of time, and we're going to come through with the clipper, with the slash, and we're going to top this paddock as well, and you know, obviously let it fully recover, not come back until it's fully recovered. Because remember, overgrazing isn't a function, you know, of a height. It's a function of time. It's not a function of animals. It's a function of time. It's coming back and regrazing a stand of forage before it's fully recovered. He's probably looking at the chooks. There he is, he's running off. So this is the flat, this is the paddock that I did that keep on moving video back in winter, when we were getting quite a bit of rain. Probably the first plant that you noticed, the first species that was in the fecal seeding planting is the vetch. So they're all legumes, and the vetch is this one here, and it's starting to flower. So that's, that's a good thing. It's getting to that nice maturity where it's not too young and tender and low in fiber that cattle can bloat on it. I love how it grows. It grows and it climbs with these tendrils, these curling little tendrils. It grows up, up taller plants like this one over here, like this milk thistle. It grows up and it creeps, and it makes the most of its features and the advantages that it has. And as soon as cattle get in here, they'll really take care of it. So it's not like it's going to, become invasive or, take over. It's a really prized plant, and it's something that I'd like to get a pretty even distribution of through the paddock, so that when we get the right temperatures in winter, we can see it coming up. So we've got a few different nice clumps here. There's another big clump of vetch here. Some people make hay out of it, and even this variety is called haymaker vetch. And the reason that it was best for fecal planting was because it had such a hard seed, which is obviously going to kind of withstand going through the rumen and that digestion process. I want to do some trials next winter on broadcasting and do a bit of a comparison between broadcast and trample and just fecal seeding, do the economics and yeah, weigh it up. The second species that I'm noticing the most of in that fecal seeding was the barrel medic. So this is the barrel medic here, and it looks almost exactly the same as burr medic. They might even be the same thing, just different names, but we have quite a bit of the burr medic that's come up naturally up in those rockier blocks up the back there. So it's come up well. Looks like it's almost starting to flower as well. The seeds, I should get one of the more mature burr medic plants that have come up and show you the seeds as they pop out. But they pop out from this burr here, and yeah, it would be great to leave this long enough for it to reseed. And that's probably one of the things that I will change if I am to do another, when I do, because I want to do another pasture improvement program, whether that's fecal seeding or broadcast and trample out here. What I'll change next time is I want to do it earlier on in the season. So whether that's towards the end of autumn or even mid-autumn, try and get some varieties that will germinate in mid-autumn, and that'll give us from autumn all the way up to November, just after November, or when cattle graze it. So once cattle graze a cool season plant coming into summer, then obviously that regrowth is going to be much slower, and that's when you'll probably stop seeing it for that year. So instead of getting it from when we did it, June, July to November, if we take that all the way back to maybe April, start at April, and we try and get some forage production from then on, then that's really going to increase the yield and the amount of feed that we can pull out of a paddock. But otherwise, this paddock has got a really good stand of our native bluegrasses and our Rhodes grass. So this is about similar rest period, 125 days this has had so far, and we've got a really good combination of our mature grasses, so our over mature brown grasses, which are high in fiber, low in protein, and then we've got a lot of our bordering end of phase 1, start of phase 2 grasses. So they may even be, there's obviously plants, if I can just find it, like these younger grass plants that have just started growing. There is no fiber in there whatsoever. So if cattle were just to graze this, then they would scour, and you know, it'd go straight through them, as I was talking about just before over in that other paddock. So it's good that we've got a nice kind of blend of the two, of our mature grasses and our immature grasses, so leaving that stockpile from winter behind, so that when cattle go to take a bite of this, they get a mouthful of some high fiber grasses, but then they also get a mouthful of this high energy, high protein, you know, fresh pick as well. And that's hopefully going to balance that rumen out just a little bit better, and we'll hopefully get better performance by it as well. So even just looking at this, animals take a bite, they're going to take some of this stem, they're going to take some of this lignified plant that's left over from winter, and you know, that's going to really mix up and blend up well in the rumen and the fermentation factory. So overall, I think the fecal seeding was pretty successful. You can see the method as to how we did it on the other video on our channel with just the timing and the rates, and it's definitely something that I'd consider using into the future, that type of planting method. And obviously I'd love to do a few comparisons with a lot of other low input, cheap planting methods to incorporate a bit of diversity into our paddock. So really happy with this paddock. I think it's going to kind of signal the start of our growing season, and we're going to struggle to keep up with the accumulation and the growth rate of the plants across all of our lease blocks combined. If you got any value from the video, consider subscribing. It goes a long way, and I'll keep making more videos. Righto guys, see you later.